should be given the same opportunities? Yes.
Same opportunities, absolutely. They should be given the same opportunities because now there's a difference between opportunity and what you do with that opportunity, of course.
Yes. To the extent that it makes it equitable for all to have the same chance.
I think money should have absolutely nothing to do with it. Economics should have anything to do with it. It should be your work ethic, your intentions, your spirit, what you have to offer, your intelligence, and your honesty. I don't even understand why money would fall into the category of judging a person.
Legal immigrants, I feel, especially since most often they're on the track of becoming citizens, that they should have the same opportunities that any other American should have.
To immigrants, the same opportunity everybody else has. In fact, they should be given, further opportunities. If there's like a language barrier or a cultural barrier, they should be given opportunities to educate themselves in those.
Equal opportunities, the same opportunities that are given to citizens.
Well, I think they should have the option for education. I think it's very important that they have job opportunities. They're community centers in pretty much every city in the country geared toward helping immigrants find housing, find jobs, learn the language, learn the layout of the city, and I think that community centers are exceptionally important for those reasons.
Immigrants, first of all, upon entering an area that's new to them with language, leaving behind their rich culture is difficult enough. And I think things to bring on would be a sense of security would be, my utmost importance. If I was coming over either by myself from another country, I would feel as if I needed to have a sense of opportunity and not a sense that I'm going to be insecure from a safety point of view, but also that I feel as if I have some resources that I could go to, either personally or through work. But I would want to have also a purpose in this new country. And my purpose could either be through my work or my employment, through my education. If I had family and I was coming over with a family, I would want the history of my family to come with and then be celebrated in the new country. But I'd want to embrace the new country and feel as if I had a lot to offer.
I think our country was founded on the principle of coming to try to better yourself and to better your opportunities. So I think they should be given every opportunity. But again, I think there are certain certain things as far as getting your citizenship. If someone's inclined to do that, I think they should be given every opportunity. If someone's just coming here to live the whole time, I think they should be given every opportunity and keep it there.
A lot. It's gotten much bigger, not just the past 30 or 40 years, it's gotten a lot bigger in the past decade, especially with the economic collapse in 2008.
Oh, for sure, it's bigger and growing. I know that the difference between a CEO and a worker, the wage gap between them has grown exponentially, and it's just getting worse. And since the 80s, the wages have basically stifled, but the rich keep getting richer.
Depending on the country, you could see a gap between the rich and the poor. Take, for example, Egypt. In the 30s, there was a gap between the rich and the poor, and that can clearly be seen. And take today in 2014, the gap between the rich and the poor is also seen.
It's enormous.
It's vast. And we could just look in this room and one of our families, and I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing there's some vast differences. Not even sure where I would fall, if I'm middle income, if I'm upper middle class. I'm not sure what that is anymore, because it is just a really inflated wealth. And then I'll see people who supposedly are impoverished, but they're buying designer things, so their wealth is different from my wealth. because for me, it's practicality things, and it's not about price tags as much as, do I need these things? I think it's much bigger. Again, I grew up and my world was very small, and everybody was pretty much, we didn't need much, we didn't have much. I think it got worse when we had this affluenza, where everybody acquired things, and you were judged on what you acquired and how big your home was and what you drove. I didn't sense that when I was growing up, but again, this was 30 years ago when I think about going into college. I didn't notice there was a big economic gap.
I mean, the rich are getting richer. I have a thing I share with my class that if we broke the world down into 100 people right now, 6 of those people would own pretty much 80% of the world's income, and they would all be from the United States. So I think that's a pretty crazy and scary fact. It is vast. The rich are getting richer, especially in America. We live in a capitalist society, so I think the gap is pretty big compared to 40 years ago. I'm not an expert in that field, but I would say that we know about it, at least because of the internet and because of social media. I think we're much more aware of who the rich people are and how bad it is for our impoverished people.
I think the idea is interesting, because I know many European countries have free college, but I think one of the unique aspects of American colleges and universities, since you do have to pay for it, you are a lot more invested into your education because you are physically handed money over. But also you get a lot more options in the types of schools that you get to go to versus what you can get in other countries. And I think that's why a lot of foreigners come to the U.S. to go to college, at least for their undergraduate degrees. Because that opportunity, that choice is here compared to other countries.
My opinion, free education? Well, technically there is a free education because there's an internet. One can educate themselves. We all know that what you pay for is the piece of paper, and it depends on what you define as education. If you're talking about a college degree, well, if you have a free education, well, how are the teachers going to get paid? How are you going to keep the lights on? If you have the resources, if you don't have money to pay for this.
Free education should be given to all. It doesn't matter what class you come from.
Well, I'm a public school teacher currently. I think it's vital to create a knowledgeable, passionate society in order for people to really create change, to innovate. They need to be educated. And so having access to education, to supplies, is exceptionally important.
Free and appropriate public education for everyone. I think that's an awesome idea. Again, my oldest son, just graduated from a private liberal arts, and it's a wonderful education. I'm a big believer in it, but it was $55,000 a year. And that is a struggle. It's a big struggle to be able to foot that bill without strapping my son with that student loan, which we didn't want to do. We wanted to give them, as a parent, we felt that was important for us to give our children, is a good education. If it can't be publicly through our taxes and equitably, then it's going to have to be through, you have to suffer as a family financially. We didn't do things because we knew we had to pay these things. Or if people aren't sure what they want to major in, or if their families aren't supporting them and they have to work. I know a lot of individuals where they have to make choices to go part-time at a community college to support their family and to live at home because they can't afford to live away from home even though they're adults and support their tuition and go to school. And I think that that was one of the greatest things for me, is to be able to move out of our home when I was 18. Because I was an adult, I had my own feelings and opinions, and I knew that I was ready to leave that comfort of my home that I grew up in. And if you don't have that opportunity for the free and appropriate public education, that's tough. It stifles you.
I think it's a wonderful tool. I mean, everyone deserves an education.
I think you should not be having children to make a superior race or anything. I think you should have children because you want to have children and have a family.
If you're searching for what is perfect, you will be searching forever. So, I have my nephew, for instance, my brother-in-law and his wife had another child, even though they knew they had a chance of the child having cystic fibrosis, and he ended up getting cystic fibrosis. But the love is still there. It's all about loving a child no matter who they are.
Then I wouldn't have any children, and they shouldn't have any children, because that child that's being brought into the world is suffering. So if you are 75% sure that you're going to pass on a genetic disease, then that child should not be brought into this world.
Do they understand the full repercussions of passing on the disease? Do they fully understand, and then is the disease life-threatening? Does the disease affect quality of life? And so this starts to get into eugenics territory, so we have to be very careful. I think it goes back to education. I think people understanding how disease affects a child's ability in the long run to be successful. That's something that you need to take into consideration. But who am I to step in and say that people should not have children? That's not my place.
Yeah, that whole survival of the fittest thing. From a medical point of view, and it's going to sound, from a nature point of view, it's not right. But from a humanity point of view, and the way we sort of baby stepped our way into enabling helplessness and moving things on forever that should have been closed up, it's difficult to say that. There's always, with diseases, pre-screening testing that can be done. I'm for that. But if you know ultimately that's the fate of that individual, there's choices, and I think choices are good. But for me, I wouldn't want to bring a child in that's going to have disease.
That's a hard question, because I'm a father, and I, without a doubt, love my child more than anything in the world, and I couldn't see myself being the person I am without being a father and a husband. So if there's a chance that you could potentially pass that on, that's horrible, but I think with medicine the way it is and advances, I think if someone knew they wanted to be a father and to find their purpose in life, and they were inclined, I think they would do everything they could to be that father. Do I think it's a good thing that you could potentially pass on disease? No, but I don't know. I think if you want to be a father, you're going to find a way and do whatever you can to be the best father possible.
Yes. I just think it does not exist on such a overt scale that we saw in the late 1800s and early 20th century. I think it's a lot more hidden. A lot of it has to do with economics and access to opportunities that tend to go to people who are more financially well off than others, even though our country says everyone has the same chance.
Yeah, definitely. There's, the American value is, unfortunately, there's haves and have-nots, and those who have an extreme advantage, and those who have not have to struggle. And we see this kind of, picking off of the poor. We see, and now the wealth gap is growing. The poor, getting poorer, more middle classes are dropping down to the lower classes, and this top 1% has got 90% of the wealth.
Now, is the question, do I think that it exists or do I think that it should exist? Yes, it exists. I think that viewpoint is highly popular in this country.
But I think social Darwinism, I see it in the biggest way coming
Does
to
it
technology.
exist? To an extent. I think that people who have things socially, that are better off socially in certain situations have more advantageous opportunities to do well. But do I think that's the end-all be-all? No. Obviously, I think your circumstances are one thing, your attitude and the way you handle life is a whole other deal. And I think that's much more important than your circumstances.
Yes, but probably not with the terminology as social Darwinism.
You're putting me on the spot here. These are very involved questions.
Okay, what's your opinion on free education?
It's my opinion of it, just generally. Man, you guys are words in my mouth. That's my general opinion of free education.